Bye-bye, accidental workbench.
Okay, I'm here at the intentional workbench. The other workbench that was here originally was the accidental workbench. It was here from the previous owner, and I had to work on the house and no time to get the bench right. So I made do, but now I had the chance to make a real bench. Here we go. Bench renew. Got everything out of there. Now finally pulled it from the wall. It's kind of a mess. I'll have to figure out what I need to replace back here. Oh, look at the lovely little mouse nest back here. It's just been here for 20 years probably. You know, it's cleaned out. Decide what parts of this I'm going to replace. Figure out how rotten it is. Yeah, I can see this top's all kind of wonky anyway. I mean, it was something they left over, some kitchen cabinets that they put in here. Oh, look at that. That's like totally pulled out of there. Wow. Okay, it's going to be interesting. What can I salvage? Or what should I salvage? Workbench. Absence thereof. Okay, see, I got the floor concrete ground the other day and put a sealer on it, and then added that top 2x6 there. I added the top 2x6 because the top of the workbench is going to come out in about the middle of where that is, so I wanted that to be, you know, sort of like a connector for a backsplash. Latch the blade in. Start my cut. Oh, we're in the midst of staining the pieces for the bench. It's using a red oak. It is the plywood is an oak veneered plywood, just your big box store variety. Seems to work all right. It's just funny, if you're gonna buy 3/4 inch plywood, it only costs a couple dollars more, and it's far better. It's usually less warped, and the surfaces are cleaner. The underside of the top I've just painted with kind of an off-white color. It's just some remnant paint that I have. It's really not very visible, but I do want it to kind of reflect some light down into there. And the backing panel, which is over here, will also be painted the same color. Again, keeping want some light in the cabinets as much as possible. Now the other side's already been stained. First it was treated with a wood preservative, which here is the copper green in brown. That's kind of a reddish tone. And then the red oak has quite a bit of a reddish tone. Now, it doesn't end up looking exactly like that. That's very red, very, yeah, I really like that mahogany sort of a color. So just be oiled on the outsides, oiled well. So hopefully a couple days I can, well, this doesn't dry. You know, you have to continue moving the stain around. So I come back occasionally, I'll wipe it some more, wipe it down, take a little bit of it off, keep kind of rubbing it down over a period of time as I'm trying to get the stain to set. If you just try to let it dry, you're going to end up with a sticky mess. Very difficult to get off, as I've found out in the past. Thankfully, it's high humidity. It takes a long time for it to dry gets a long time for it to soak. So I've got the main pieces here glued and nailed together for the bench. The facing hasn't been done. That'll be done after I get it in place. The top pieces on the inside painted white. So everything's notched in 3/16 of an inch. This shelf here actually slides. The others are mounted stiffly. Here's the rails for drawers. On these 6 here are small drawers. That one's a full-size drawer. Now what I need to do right now is tip it over on the face and mount the backing. And while I'm doing that, I'm also going to nail up into these from underneath. The 2x base right now is just screwed on the sides. So I'm actually going to unscrew that as I tip it and see if I can get this thing released. So I'll have to mount the base over here so I can get it mounted securely and actually kind of bolt it into the ground. And then this will mount to the top of it, and then screw it back in the sides, some screws into there, and we'll be golden. Alright, that's the deal. This is like 80 inches wide by 36 inches high by 23 and 5/8 inches deep, as I recall. Facilitate tipping it forward without damaging that front corner. I had some pieces of safe 2x4 that happened to have a corner cut off them. And perfect. You always look around your shop. It's amazing what you'll find that can solve your problems. Yeah, I'm marking the locations of these studs on the base onto this piece so I can drill a few mounting holes in there for later for when I mount this piece to the base. I'll drill them from the underside here. Okay. Now, I think I'm going to leave the base on it, keep it rigid while I'm attaching the backing, and then I'll take the base off. Yeah. Working by oneself is always interesting when you're moving large, bulky items. See if we can get this over onto its landing pad. Put a rim of 1-inch foam, lower sides. The top will be close to the wall. By the top will actually be slidden back right up to the wood. Just trying to reduce the chance of it becoming a bug hotel. Okay, now I'll try to tip this thing in place. Tipping this in place could be ugly. I'm not even going to show it. Now this corner of the bench where the vise goes, you're getting some additional support in here. This isn't a blacksmithing vise, so to speak, but I do some hammering on it pretty good. Yeah, and I want to be able to transfer all that force right down into the concrete. So rather than have the structure take the load. So anyhow, what I've been able to do here is I've got a 4x4 post that's really dense. This thing is a rather old wood, at least 30 or so years old. Yeah, and just that one little piece there weighs, 25 pounds. It's quite amazing. Very, very hard. It's actually my Japanese pull saw was having a hard time cutting through it. I've got a little bit to do adjustment on the back of it. Cut a little more off there. And this piece will be, attached. The sides of the bench will be bolted in the sides of the bench and the top. This isn't the full top. There's going to be 2 more layers on top of that. But, I've got to get this done before I get those top pieces. Okay, here's the actually second level of top. So there's a top piece for the structure, and then there was another piece overlaid which extends past the edges, and now another piece extending. So so far we have 3 3/4 inch pieces in there. This piece of plywood was so warped. You know, when I bought it, it was fine. A lot of this stuff's so wet, and it warped so much it was bowed up in the middle by 4 inches. Now, I was able to get the lower sections nailed down. I was able to use just small nails. The oak piece was underneath this, and it was reasonably flat. This required, I put some 2-inch screws. You got to work from one side. Get one side nicely screwed in, and then work your way over, because you got this, mound, and you got to press that down. If you were to screw in the two sides and then try to screw down the middle, forget it. So you got to work from one side, and kind of, it's like working the bubble out. So that was a lot of fun. It's pretty flat, almost fairly, say absolutely flat, but maybe 30/2 of an inch in some areas. And the level, even though I checked it completely all throughout the process, when I mounted this bench, it was absolutely level. Now it's off by a little bit. Yeah, it's probably seems lower down at this far side by about 1/8 of an inch. But I'm not as concerned about the level aspect of it as flat. But you do a lot of things on the bench which, you're looking at what's flat. So when I put this other board on here, I got to cut this piece. This is going to be a lot of fun. Got to cut that down to fit it, and then try to get it flat, because I don't want nails in it. I don't want anything. I plan on using contact cement. I think I'll wait for another day on that. Maybe I'll cut it today, get a rough cut. Clamp it down there, use a flush cutting bit to flush cut the edges of it.
Fly on in for the next part of this project. Hasta la proyecto.